I sit at the polished oak table, my wedding dress crisp against the rough wood of the converted barn outside Madison. Above me, the string lights glow, casting honeycomb patterns across the faces of 180 guests, some familiar, most belonging to Vaughn's side. My champagne glass remains untouched as my father stands, tapping his knife against crystal with the precision of a metronome. To my middle daughter, Janessa, Gerald Price declares, his voice carrying the confident timbre of a man who spent 4 decades in boardrooms and who, without fail, always chose the easy road. My hand stills mid-reach for my water glass. Easy road? The phrase strikes like a slap. 4 years of agricultural science at Wisconsin State. 2 more years earning certification in sustainable farming. Then 3 backbreaking years reviving 80 acres of neglected soil. All while Savannah, my older sister, climbed her corporate ladder in an air-conditioned office. While some of us built businesses and careers, Dad continues, his silver hair flashing in the warm glow, Janessa decided playing in the dirt was ambition enough for a price. He pauses, savoring the chuckles that ripple from nearby tables. But we love her anyway. To the newlyweds. Savannah leans toward me, her diamond tennis bracelet catching the light as she whispers just loud enough for the table to hear. The mud lovers finally made it official. The room tilts. Blood pounds through my face, my chest tightening with that suffocating pressure I have known all my life at family dinners, when achievements were measured in salaries and vacations. My hands tremble, and I press them flat against the tablecloth to still the quake. Beneath the table, Vaughn's warm fingers slide into mine. He squeezes once our private signal, born of 3 years enduring barbed comments and backhanded compliments together. His touch steadies me. Conversations resume as though nothing has happened. Your father means well, my mother Marilyn murmurs, patting my arm with automatic comfort, the reflex she has perfected for decades. He just wants what's best. What's best? The phrase has haunted me since childhood, always tied to some reminder of what I was not achieving. My eyes linger on the centerpiece of wildflowers Vaughan and I grew ourselves, arranged in mason jars we sterilized last harvest. To everyone else they're simply rustic decorations. To us, they're symbols of the future, the experimental perennials that might revolutionize Midwestern farming if Vaughn's irrigation system performs as expected. I remember being 8 years old, standing in Savannah's shadow at the country club Christmas party. Dad straightened my collar and asked, "Why can't you be more like your sister?" while Savannah showed off her golf trophy. She knows how to make people proud. That pattern never broke. Savannah's acceptance into Northwestern's business school, my lesser program in agriculture. Her pristine downtown apartment, our weathered farmhouse with peeling paint. Her hedge fund husband, Miles, versus my Vaughn, whose hands remain stained with soil no matter how often he scrubs. I scan the reception hall now, cataloging faces. Savannah's Lake community neighbors laugh too loudly at Dad's jokes. Mom's bridge club whispers about my simple dress. Miles's colleagues nod politely, their wives wearing masks of disinterest. None of them know the nights Vaughn spends bent over soil analyses, or the calls from university researchers asking about our water conservation methods. They see mud on boots, not innovation. My mind drifts back to the day I met Vaughn at a conference in Des Moines. While others crowded around blinking tech displays, Vaughn stood beside a plain irrigation diagram, explaining to anyone who paused how his design could reduce water usage by 38%. Later, over coffee, he told me, eyes alight with conviction, the answers are in the dirt. Everyone wants drones and apps, but the real revolution is beneath our feet. That was the first time I felt seen. His vision wasn't a quaint retreat, it was a living laboratory, proof that success didn't require corner offices or luxury cars. Our farm was independence. A rebellion against the Price family measuring stick. I rise to my feet, champagne glass in hand. The room hushes as heads turn. I want to thank everyone for being here, I begin, voice steadier than I feel, especially those who supported us through the hard seasons in farming and in life. My gaze finds Dad, whose face shifts from relaxed authority to wary alertness. When times grow tough, what matters is who stands beside you. A heavy silence lingers. Dad's jaw tightens, a reflex I know too well. Savannah exchanges a quick glance with Miles, her brows arched. I lift my glass higher. To those who believed in what we're building, thank you for seeing value where others saw only dirt. Mom touches Dad's sleeve, silently urging restraint. His shock dissolves behind a practiced smile, but I see it, the blow has landed. For the first time, I have defied the family script, refusing to let them name my choices as failures. Here, calls Bill Henderson, our neighbor, his voice breaking the tension. A few more voices join in, newer farming friends, dismissed by Savannah as my country bumpkin crowd. Vaughn slips an arm around my waist as I sit, kissing my temple. Proud of you, he whispers, and the words fill me in a way my family's approval never has. Later, among the guests, 3 farmers from the county co-op approach, their wives offering small bags of preserves and seed packets, humble gifts compared to the lavish appliances from my parents' friends. That irrigation system saved my north field during the drought, Frank Olson tells Vaughn, clasping his hand. Don't listen to the suits. What you two are doing matters. As they walk away, Vaughn meets my eyes across the dance floor. Savannah laughs with her circle, her world all shine and surfaces, while ours is soil and substance. The contrast is sharp as glass. They won't always talk to us this way, I murmur as we step onto the floor for our first dance. Someday they'll see what we've built. They will, Vaughn answers, his smile steady, unshakable. But by then it won't matter. We'll have already won. Aunt Patricia, who once praised our heirloom tomatoes, now pretends not to remember the basket we carried to her doorstep, as if the memory never existed. Uncle Thomas, who last Easter leaned forward with great interest, asking me detailed questions about crop rotation, now acts as though we have never exchanged a single word about agriculture. They are all part of the careful construction of a story where Savannah always triumphs and I, by contrast, always fail, no matter the truth. Across the deck, Vaughn is speaking with my father's golf buddy, his hands sketching patterns in the air as he patiently explains a concept. Yet despite his Stanford education, despite the weight of his published research papers, they respond to him as though he were a child fumbling through a lesson. For the first time, I realize the misunderstanding isn't innocent, it is deliberate. This fiction, that he is merely a dirt farmer and nothing more, is maintained with intention. My parents aren't just disappointed, they are invested in preserving a false reality. I watch Savannah glide through the gathering, her movements precise and strategic. She drops mention of their Cape Cod vacation home within earshot of my mother, and I see Mom straighten with visible pride. When conversation shifts towards sustainable agriculture, Savannah redirects it effortlessly to Miles's recent yacht purchase. The rhythm is too polished to be coincidence. Suddenly, the pattern blazes before me so clearly that I wonder how I ever missed it. A gentle tap on my shoulder interrupts my thoughts. Celeste stands behind me, her expression unusually grave. At nearly 28, she has long been the family mediator, the quiet neutral presence in our Cold War. I need to tell you something, she whispers, eyes darting toward the house. Inside the cool stillness of the kitchen, she slides the door closed with finality. Her words come quickly, her voice low. Miles has made catastrophic investment mistakes. I overheard him and Savannah arguing last night. He's personally responsible for several major losses. My stomach knots. I set my plate down, appetite gone. How bad? I ask. Bad enough, she replies, that they've listed the Cape Cod house. The yacht is on the market too. Laughter bursts from the deck, grotesque in its cheer. Savannah's terrified, Celeste continues. Her perfect life is imploding. The implication blooms in my mind before I can stop it. What about Mom and Dad? I ask, already knowing. Her eyes confirm it. Miles has been managing their retirement portfolio for years, ever since Dad's heart scare handed him complete control. The truth clicks into place with terrifying clarity. If Savannah fails, the entire scaffolding of our family collapses, including our parents' security. Janessa, Celeste says, squeezing my arm, she's desperate, and that makes her dangerous. Watch yourself. They'll look anywhere for solutions. When she slides the door open again, sound floods in, laughter, clinking glasses, the hum of conversation, yet everything feels altered. I step back onto the deck, my perspective changed. I notice the jagged edge beneath Savannah's laughter, the strained tightness around Miles's eyes when Dad casually mentions their Mediterranean cruise, the way Mom fingers her pearls again, and again a childhood tic resurfacing under stress. That night, after the long drive home, Vaughn and I sit at our worn kitchen table, the wood etched with years of meals and late-night talks. He doesn't ask, only states, "You saw it too." I nod, tracing the smooth groove in the surface. "They've always dismissed us," I murmur, "but it's more than that. It's calculated. They need us to fail, because our failure holds their world together." His hand finds mine, steady and warm. "What happens when that world begins to crack?" he asks quietly. My phone vibrates, a message from Celeste. "I'll keep you informed about any family financial discussions." They don't notice me. I show Vaughn the text. We agree silently: stay dignified, stay vigilant, don't rush to confront or rescue. His calm confidence steadies me. He has resources and strength my family has never bothered to see. Outside, moonlight pours over the experimental fields, the crops we tend with patience and precision. What they dismiss as worthless dirt may be the only stable ground any of us will have left. A month later, at Celeste's birthday celebration, the difference is unmistakable. The charcuterie board is less elaborate, the champagne domestic, the lavish shine of the Price family's tradition dulled at the edges. Dad wears his Brooks Brothers blazer, but it's last season's cut. Mom's tennis bracelet glitters, though her manicure betrays an at-home attempt. Behind the kitchen door, I catch voices, Miles's low and strained, Gerald's sharp in reply. "Shouldn't have put it on the market so fast," Gerald warns. "Buyers smell desperation." "We didn't have a choice," Miles hisses back. The credit cards alone, the words dissolve as a waiter emerges, forcing me to move on. I settle near the garden, where Vaughn examines Mom's hydrangeas, assessing soil and water even here. Dad approaches, then abruptly veers away when someone mentions the yacht club. For the first time, I see discomfort flicker across Gerald Price's face, a man who once commanded boardrooms now avoiding money talk. Mom's smile falters when asked about Martha's Vineyard. "We're exploring other options," she says with brittle brightness. Savannah, always the golden one, wears the same dress from last Christmas. Twice, I catch her checking price tags. The shimmer of her crown is slipping. When she corners me later in the kitchen, her eyes shadowed and her tone brittle, the polished mask finally cracks. She asks for help for a loan of $20,000. The same sister who sneered at mud lovers now asks for mud money. In that moment, the ground shifts. Power realigns. For the first time, Savannah Price Miller looks up at me. I meet her gaze steadily. "I'm not enjoying this," I tell her. "I'm protecting what Vaughn and I have built." The tension hangs heavy. She insists Miles will recover, that he always does. I nod, wishing no ruin on her, but the truth remains: our work, our land, our so-called dirt, is stronger than the empire she built on illusion. When she leaves, Vaughn and Celeste step in, both having heard everything. On the patio, dusk wraps around us, the air heavy with unspoken fears. Celeste lowers her voice. "It's worse than they're letting on. Miles lost 3 major clients. The firm's questioning his strategies. He's on a performance plan." She pauses, her words like stones dropped into water. "Dad doesn't know yet." If he discovers that his golden son-in-law is faltering, the entire family mythology will collapse. Vaughn remains standing, hands tucked in his pockets, his silence carrying a weight louder than words. At last, he breaks it with calm finality. We won't gloat, but we won't be their bailout either. That simple declaration seals what I already knew: we are united, unwavering at this boundary. 10 long years of Gerald Price dismissing Vaughn's intelligence, Savannah mocking the roughness of his hands, and my mother patting his arm with condescending affection while ignoring his Stanford education, all converge into this single moment of quiet strength. I'm with you both, Celeste says softly, reaching for my hand. They never saw what you were building because they didn't want to look. 3 siblings raised under the same roof, yet our lives carved such different paths. The moment feels monumental. Celeste openly chooses my side over Savannah's, shattering the family hierarchy that once defined our childhood foundation. As darkness settles over the garden, an unspoken question rises in my mind. If 20,000 was their opening ask, how desperate will they become when that fails? And what lengths will they reach for when they realize we hold far more than they suspect? We should get home, Vaughn murmurs, his hand squeezing my shoulder with gentle certainty. Early start tomorrow. As we turn to leave, I catch sight of my father and Miles locked in a heated argument near the garage. Miles flails, hands slicing the air in frantic explanation, while my father's face hardens into granite disapproval. The Price family foundation is cracking, its fault lines spreading from what they once dismissed as nothing more than mud. 3 weeks after Savannah's desperate plea in the kitchen, Vaughn and I sit at our oak dining table, now buried under spreadsheets, folders, and ledgers that sprawl across its surface like fallen autumn leaves. Each page reveals another layer of our operation, another piece of a life painstakingly built. Our liquid assets stand at 58,000, Vaughn notes, tapping his pencil against a notepad covered in his neat calculations. Not a fortune, but enough to weather unexpected expenses until harvest. I nod, eyes scanning the projection graphs of his experimental drought-resistant wheat. Preliminary data shows a 32% improvement over standard varieties, though another season will be needed to confirm it. What about the irrigation patent? Any movement there? I ask, forcing my voice to stay even. We promised ourselves that after Savannah's confrontation we would approach everything clinically, with precision, not emotion. Vaughn slides a folder across the table. Patent Office asked for more documentation on the sensor arrays. I sent everything yesterday. Our attorney thinks we'll hear back within 8 weeks. The weight of what we're doing presses down on me. We are cataloging our entire lives, translating years of sweat and vision into dollar values, preparing as though for battle. Do you think they'll come after the farm? I ask quietly. Vaughn lifts his gaze, steady and unwavering. Your father didn't build his business by leaving money on the table. If they're desperate enough, 80 acres might look like an easy solution. A car engine rumbles outside. Vaughn peers through the window, then relaxes. Just Frank, dropping off irrigation parts. I turn back to our balance sheets, checking accounts against invoices, the numbers telling a story of patient growth and relentless reinvestment. Everything funneled back into research, the very work my family sneers at as nothing more than playing in the dirt. Celeste called while you were in the shower, Vaughn says, settling back into his chair. Miles has started liquidating their investments, taking heavy losses just to scrape together cash. My stomach clenches. How bad? His answer is grim, bad enough that my father has begun canceling club memberships, and my mother Marilynya's postponed her annual charity gala. I almost laugh at the excuse. For 23 years, that gala has been untouchable. She once hosted it while burning with pneumonia rather than disappoint the county elite. Now it is suddenly rescheduled. Celeste also mentioned my father asked about our mortgage, whether we owned the farm outright or still carried debt. That is no casual inquiry, and Vaughn confirms it with a grim nod. It's reconnaissance. We continue through the afternoon, assembling every piece of documentation, Vaughn consulting with the attorney who built our protective business structure, me reaching out to the network of farmers who have stood beside us through drought and frost. By sunset, we have built a full dossier, not just of land value, but of the farm as a research facility that could transform agriculture across the Midwest. We lock the files into a fireproof safe, our shield against whatever storm approaches. Dinner finished, my phone buzzes. Dad's name flashes across the screen. His voice is clipped, businesslike. Janessa. Your mother and I would like to have everyone over this weekend. Some opportunities we'd like to discuss with the whole family. His tone is too formal, too rehearsed, warning bells in my mind. What kind of opportunities? I ask, steadying my voice while my heart races. Just some options. Nothing specific yet. Saturday at 7. Bring that husband of yours. The line goes dead before I can respond. Vaughn studies me, reading the tension on my face as easily as if it were his own. They want us Saturday. They say they have opportunities to discuss. Vaughn raises an eyebrow. Faster than I thought. Should we just help them and end this? The question tumbles out of me, the reflex of a lifetime spent meeting family expectations. Vaughn takes my hand firmly, his calloused thumb tracing my knuckles. Remember Thanksgiving 3 years ago, when your father called our research a waste of good farmland? Or your birthday last year, when Savannah asked if we qualified for food stamps? The memories rush back, each one a blade, each one carving a scar that never fully healed. Vaughn's voice steadies me. They had endless chances to respect what we were building. They chose mockery instead. Now they need something, and suddenly we're worth inviting to dinner. The anger I've buried for weeks ignites not a wild, reckless flame, but the focused blaze of a blowtorch, hot and controlled. Saturday should be interesting, I say, pressing my finger to the phone to accept. 2 days later, the evening sun throws golden bars of light across our kitchen as Vaughn spreads documents over the table. His hands, soil still lingering under his nails despite scrubbing, rest on a leather portfolio I've never seen. His voice is steady, but his eyes search mine. There's something I need to show you. Something I should have told you earlier. My chest tightens. After Celeste's warnings, any surprise feels dangerous. What is it? Vaughn pulls out a folder stamped with Stanford letterhead. Not Wisconsin State. My doctorate wasn't in irrigation basics. It was advanced algorithmic modeling for climate-adaptive agriculture. The air shifts around me. Stanford? But USAID wanted to be valued for what I do, not for credentials. He holds my gaze. That first conference in Des Moines? I'd already filed 3 patents on precision soil monitoring. My thoughts scatter, memory rewriting itself with each revelation. The man I married, already brilliant and humble, now revealed as something more. He pushes forward a bound report, Greenfield Agritech stamped across the cover. This farm isn't just a farm, Janessa. It's the R&D hub for my company. Current valuation $62 million. The number hits like a physical blow. Vaughn continues, his hands moving with calm authority. 9 investors. 3 university partnerships. Structured through separate LLCs for protection. What your family dismisses as dirt is technology already reshaping drought management across 3 continents. Heat floods my chest, disbelief tangled with awe. Why keep this from me? I didn't. Not really. The patents are on the office walls. The data's on our servers. I even mentioned investors last Christmas, remember? Savannah was showing off her earrings, your dad redirecting the conversation to her husband's brokerage. No one listened. The truth settles heavy. Vaughn stopped correcting them when he realized they had no interest in hearing it. My phone vibrates again, Celeste's name lighting up. Her message preview chills me. Emergency. Call now. 30 seconds later, her voice spills through the speaker, words tripping over each other. Miles lost everything, Nessa. Not just their money, everything. Mom and Dad's retirement accounts. 3.1 million across 22 client portfolios. The air disappears from the room. What, they're coming for your farm, she says, fear sharp in her tone. Miles already has a buyer lined up. A developer wants the land for a subdivision. They're planning to pressure you into selling tomorrow. Forget Saturday's dinner. Vaughn's face remains calm, but I see his knuckles whiten as they grip the table edge. Miles keeps insisting it's worth no more than $1 million, his voice dismissive, his certainty grating. Celeste warns that they're bringing paperwork, urgent signatures already prepared, as though our consent were nothing more than a formality. Dad mutters about knocking sense into us both, his anger simmering just beneath the surface. When the call disconnects, silence spreads across the kitchen, heavy and suffocating, settling between us with the weight of an invisible presence. The confrontation looming tomorrow feels like a storm already pressing against the walls of our home. They think we're desperate enough to clutch at any lifeline, Vaughn says at last, collecting the scattered documents. His tone is measured, but I hear the steel beneath it. They've always considered you the weak link, the one who could be coerced by family obligation. A familiar burning stirs behind my eyes, but it's no longer sorrow, it's fury. Fury for every condescending remark at family gatherings, for the patronizing smiles when we spoke of crop innovations, for a lifetime of being dismissed, diminished, and devalued. What's our strategy? I ask, my throat tightening. As darkness deepens outside, we remain at the kitchen table, rehearsing responses to every likely tactic. No emotional eruptions, no defensive explanations, just simple, unwavering refusal. Let them come, Vaughn says softly when at last we rise. His voice is calm, almost quiet, but it carries the certainty of someone who knows the battlefield. They're bringing knives to a gunfight they don't even realize exists. We step onto the porch, gazing across the expanse of our land. Moonlight spills across the experimental fields, the drought-resistant wheat on the western acres shimmering like silver, the soil-restoring legumes to the north, the automated irrigation lines cutting clean paths through the darkened earth. This land is not dirt. It is vision. It is the future. Tomorrow, my family will finally understand exactly what they've dismissed for so many years. Morning arrives, and with it the crunch of tires on gravel. 3 vehicles roll to a stop just after 9. Through the kitchen window, I watch Savannah emerge from a sleek black Mercedes, her cream-colored pantsuit immaculate despite the swirling dust. Miles follows, dressed in his Wall Street uniform, a charcoal suit, power tie, and a leather briefcase worth more than our monthly groceries. Vaughn, drying his hands on a dish towel, murmurs, "Company's here early." Celeste's warning call last night had set us preparing well into the small hours, sorting documents, reviewing financials, practicing our composure. What we hadn't expected was the trio stepping from the Lexus SUV, a balding man clutching a leather portfolio, a woman in a pinstripe skirt suit, and another man furiously typing into his phone. The strategy is obvious. When Dad wanted to close a wavering client, he always brought reinforcements, projecting inevitability. My stomach knots as I count them, 5 against 2. "Look at this place," Savannah declares as I open the door, her voice overly bright, dripping with that brittle cheerfulness she wields when desperate to maintain control. "So rustic. Perfect day for a visit, isn't it?" Miles steps forward, extending his hand toward Vaughn. "Hope you don't mind the surprise. We were showing Peter some properties nearby and thought, why not include the farm?" The balding man nods curtly, eyes scanning the room with clinical calculation. "Peter Donovan, Heartland Investment Group. Beautiful property. Excellent access. Prime elevation." His words are a financial X-ray, reducing our home to profit margins. The woman steps up. Marjorie Winters, real estate broker, she says, her smile stiff, her eyes cold. The third man pockets his phone. Jim Barker, financial aid to Mr. Donovan. Their choreography is practiced, a performance perfected by repetition. Vaughn meets my gaze neutral, alert, already recognizing the opening gambit. We weren't expecting company, I say, the words painfully inadequate against their invasion. Especially not a broker and investment team. Oh, don't be so suspicious, Savannah laughs, brittle as glass. Peter was curious, that's all. She perches on the sofa uninvited, while Miles spreads documents across the table with predatory precision. Here's the thing, he begins smoothly. Peter's looking for agricultural land for a managed fund. When we described your situation, he saw the potential immediately. Our situation? Vaughn asks evenly. Peter answers without hesitation. A young couple sitting on valuable acreage without capital to maximize its worth. We're offering simplicity cash buyer, fast close. Miles taps the agreement. 15-day due diligence, signatures tonight, funds in days. The audacity stuns me silent. They've come with contracts, already assuming our compliance. My palms dampen, I press them against my jeans. We're trying to help, Savannah coos, softening her voice into the one she uses to get her way. Miles even arranged positions for you both junior analysts at his firm. Real careers, offices with views, benefits, retirement plans. Don't you see, Janessa? It's just dirt. Just dirt. 3 years of soil analysis, irrigation systems, selective breeding dismissed with 2 careless words. Dirt. The blow lands sharp and deep, but before I can respond, the front door opens again. My parents stride in, uninvited, their presence a final reinforcement. What follows Peter's raised offer, my mother's gasp, my father's applause of now we're talking sense becomes a blur of voices pressing in on us, suffocating in their certainty. Yet when Vaughn speaks, calm and professional, silence ripples outward like a shockwave. We're not selling, he says, and the room falters. He speaks not with anger but authority, citing soil research, drought-resistant crops, water retention data. Confusion spreads across their faces. This isn't the script they expected. They call us foolish, accuse us of selfishness, warn of ruin. They offer checks, jobs, and even forgiveness. But with every word, my resolve hardens. This is not dirt. This is a living, growing future. When Vaughn opens the door wide and thanks them for their time, the silence is heavier than any argument. One by one, they retreat, their weapons blunted. Yet the battle is only beginning. Calls follow me, mother trembling with rage, my father promising they'll bring help. Savannah screams from the porch that I'm selfish. Celeste whispers over the phone that they're planning an intervention, gathering allies, summoning pastors, counselors, neighbors. They say we've joined a cult. They say we've lost our minds. 3 days later, the convoy arrives like an army, cars crowding our driveway, neighbors and church members forming a semicircle, their faces a mix of pity and judgment. My father, commanding as ever, calls this gathering an act of love, while my mother pleads betrayal. Savannah weeps theatrically, Miles waves financial charts, and the pastor invokes scripture. A counselor even suggests that leaving this land might heal us. The layering of attack is precise religion, psychology, finance, guilt all woven into a net designed to strangle us into submission. And yet, as Vaughn steps forward, his hand brushing mine in silent reassurance, my fury crystallizes into clarity. This land is not just soil. It is future, science, survival. And for the first time, surrounded by enemies who wear the faces of family, I feel stronger than ever. Your concern for Janessa and for our well-being is appreciated, though I believe there has been some misunderstanding about our situation. He turns slightly, addressing not my family but the neighbors directly. Pastor Thompson, Dr. Wainwright, I apologize that you've been brought here under false pretenses. My father's confident smile falters, his authority slipping. Vaughn, this isn't productive, we're trying to one moment, Gerald, Vaughn interrupts, polite but unyielding. He lifts his tablet and steps toward the group. I believe everyone here deserves the complete picture before offering judgment. With a calm steadiness, he activates the screen and turns it toward the crowd. This is my doctoral degree in agricultural engineering from Stanford University. Next to it are the patents I hold on precision irrigation systems currently used in 4 countries. A ripple of surprise stirs through the onlookers. Pastor Thompson leans forward, adjusting his glasses. Vaughn continues, swiping to a new document. This farm isn't merely land producing conventional crops. It is the research headquarters of Greenfield Agritech, valued at $62 million as of our last funding round. Mrs. Wilson gasps audibly. Vaughn's finger glides to the final document. And this is the approval letter for a federal research grant of $3.5 million, funding drought-resistant crop varieties that could transform farming in arid regions. The silence that follows is heavy as morning dew. Dr. Wainwright steps back, her face flushed. I was told this was about a young couple refusing to help family during hardship. So was I, Pastor Thompson adds, turning to my father with narrowed eyes. My father recovers quickly, trying to wave the facts aside. Anyone can make up impressive-sounding numbers. The point remains that family obligations, the numbers aren't fabricated, Mr. Price, Mrs. Henderson interjects, her voice steady. My son works for the Department of Agriculture. He mentioned a major grant awarded here in our county. I had no idea it was Vaughn and Janessa's farm. Pastor Thompson regards my father quietly. Gerald, did you know about this when you asked me to speak with your daughter about family duty? My father's jaw works silently, his eyes darting, searching for allies and finding none. Savannah rushes in, her voice pitched higher than usual. This doesn't change the fact that our family faces real financial struggles. If anything, it means Janessa and Vaughn are more capable of helping. Concede, Janet's time. I step forward, calmness anchoring me like never before. For 32 years, I've listened to you dismiss my choices, belittle my dreams, measure my worth against Savannah's corporate titles. At my wedding, Dad, you told everyone I always chose the easy road. You mocked my agricultural degree, calling it playing in dirt. My voice grows stronger, carried by years of silent hurt finding release. But this farm isn't dirt. It is innovation. It is survival for thousands of farmers facing climate change. It is research that matters. And it is ours, built without a dollar of your support or a single word of encouragement. The neighbors shift uneasily, unable to meet my eyes as the truth cuts through. Miles tries to recover, his salesman's charm sliding into place. Janessa, Vaughn, I had no idea of the scale of your work. Perhaps we could discuss some mutually beneficial investment opportunities? My clients would be very interested. No, Miles, I cut him off, the words sharp and final. Keep your dignity. Know your limits. The silence that follows is absolute. Pastor Thompson clears his throat. I believe I've misunderstood this entire situation. Gerald, Marilyn, it would be best if everyone departed and gave Janessa and Vaughn peace. But we haven't resolved anything. My mother protests desperately, looking to the neighbors for support already dissolving. I believe we have, Dr. Wainwright answers firmly. And Gerald, I'll be sending you my consultation fee. This was highly inappropriate. One by one, neighbors approach with awkward apologies. Mrs. Henderson squeezes my hand. I should have known better. I'm so sorry. Mr. Wilson tells Vaughn, you should have said something, son. We'd have stood with you. As the last cars roll away, My family stands stranded in the yard, abandoned by the audience they tried to manipulate. Celeste steps from her vehicle, her presence a declaration. She walks to my side. You should go, she tells our parents softly. There's nothing left to accomplish here. My mother gasps, Celeste, you too? Me too, she replies, quiet but unwavering. We watch them retreat to their cars, shoulders slumped, eyes lowered. My father no longer projects command. Savannah avoids all eye contact. Miles looks shell-shocked, his confidence shattered. My mother lingers, pausing at her door with an unreadable look before sliding into her seat. One by one, their vehicles vanish down the drive. Vaughn slips an arm around my waist. Celeste takes my hand. It's really over, isn't it? I whisper. Vaughn presses his lips to my temple. This part is. What comes next is ours to choose. For the first time since my wedding day, the crushing weight of their expectations falls away completely. Before us stretches the farm, bathed in autumn sunlight, no longer dismissed as dirt, but revealed as possibility, not mud but gold.